What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the OC Podcast. I'm Owen Adams.
And I'm Connor McTighe.
So today we're talking about Joe Rogan and Spotify. And the first thing we have here is this article. Spotify is not canceling Joe Rogan.
Sorry to break your hearts, everybody.
Why was he going to get canceled? Well, this controversy over here.
He had a lot of them. One thing happened negatively against him where it's like everybody's mad at him about this. And then let's start with the dog pile on all of the other stuff so that we can get more people to agree that we need to get him removed from a platform. If any of those broadcasts happened like a couple years ago or something like that, why didn't you bring it up then? If these are such appalling things that occurred on his show over the course of time, were you talking about it then? I'm not saying that any of the things that he said were right. They're really bad.
Yes, setting the
They're really bad.
Setting the actual content of what he said aside for a moment, it speaks to the coordination of the media establishment and these journalists. It's like one thing didn't work, so let's try another thing, and it never worked. I think these Joe Rogan fans just love the guy so much, and fortunately, I guess in my opinion, his fans are so die-hard, the guy is just uncancelable at this point. Maybe he's the only one that's uncancelable, but at least there's one. Unlike Joe Rogan, we do not have a gajillion, bazillion, 1,000 million, billion...
700 billion and a trillion, 300 million...
fans to defend us and write angry...
We do have angry people in our comment section sometimes.
Yes, but they're mostly angry at us, not with us. Spotify took quite a large dip in their stock price when this Joe Rogan controversy had come to light. So not so good for Spotify, and so it seems as if, at least from my perspective, that the CEO of Spotify is not making a financially based decision purely, but they're actually standing up on principle. Good for you, Spotify. You did one good thing.
We could do an entire video about all the other horrible things that you're doing, but...
Oh my God, yes. Joe Rogan gets 1/10 of 1 cent for every listener, just like all of us do. Daniel Ek, the company's chief executive, discussed the recent removal of a number of episodes and made it clear that it would not drop Rogan's show. He says, "I do not believe silencing Joe is the answer. We should have clear lines around content and take action when they're crossed, but canceling voices is a slippery slope." Also, Joe Rogan, and this is something that I find kind of silly personally, Joe Rogan apologized and called it the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. Though he also
Listen,
said,
if you heard that broadcast, that one was really bad. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to... Nope.
anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together would think, yeah, he probably wants a do-over for some of those things that he said, but you don't get that.
You don't get that. You don't get that when it's on recording and it's all over the internet. Not in this day and age. It just doesn't work that way.
No, the internet is forever. This is why we're probably a little bit too careful about the things that we say on this show, but this can happen to anyone. And I think the big picture of all this is when you get into this whole speech policing and thought policing and thought crimes, canceling, it is a very slippery slope. And what you end up with is self-censorship, which is what we do every episode, is that you're so terrified that something you say might be misconstrued to be something offensive or mentally harmful.
It's honestly one of the number one principles of this show.
Yeah.
For real, anytime that we come up with anything for an episode of ours, the very first thing that we're always saying is, how do we make it so that we don't get immediately removed or taken down? We go through rehearsals, just trying to make sure that we don't say the wrong thing. And in your editing work, it is another aspect of how you have to fine comb everything. If we were at a bigger level like Joe Rogan, he doesn't take those measures clearly.
No, and in fact he signed a contract with Spotify that gave him full creative control over his content and his language and etc. So none of the little Spotify employees have any say. Creative individuals, comedians, podcasters, musicians. I think it's the most important thing to push up against that line as much as you possibly can. Otherwise, it will inevitably shrink and it will inevitably collapse in on us all, because the vast majority of people are not creative individuals. They don't understand what it's like to have your content taken down. You were robbed recently. You've been violated. When you create a piece of content, it is your intellectual property. It is still something you made it, you own. It would be as if that bike that they stole, as if not only did you own that bike, but you had built that bike piece by piece, and then it was stolen.
Oh, you think I'm mad about the bicycle? You already saw how I felt about the bicycle. So
Right.
we're not going to talk about the bicycle anymore. But if it was one of my songs or something like that, that would be a whole new ball game.
For them to remove any one of the 5,000 or whatever Joe Rogan podcasts, it is censorship. I don't want to hear what you have to say about it's a private company. They can do what they want. These apps and these huge billion-dollar corporations are not the same thing as a mom-and-pop startup. The most confusing issue of the Joe Rogan cancellation process is this false perception of like authority. And we have this idea of 300 doctors, right?
Oh my God, this is so
Doctors.
funny. This is hilarious. This was so funny when you showed when you showed this to me.
Doctors, 300 of them, Connor.
They all signed.
You can't argue with them.
Dr. Phil gets to be on TV every single day and he's not licensed.
He's not a licensed physician, but he is a licensed legend.
He gets to call himself a doctor on TV every single day.
All right, so this is the original letter, an open letter to Spotify, a call from the global scientific and medical communities to implement a misinformation policy, which is a really fancy way of saying we should be able to control what Spotify publishes on their platform. Now, if you're getting advice on how to do a spinning jump kick or how to, bench 300 pounds or something,
Joe Rogan's your guy.
Joe Rogan, absolutely.
Which strand of weed is going to be my favorite one?
Joe
Joe Rogan's your guy.
Yes, exactly. How to eat a shoebox full of leeches.
How much DMT can I consume before it is possibly lethal?
Also, he's an expert apparently in generating tons and tons of negative publicity, which he can then take advantage of to make more money.
With a podcast. Who thought
Yes.
that anybody could generate that much hatred with a podcast?
Right. He may be an expert on those things, but medical advice and what you should put into your body in a medicinal sense, not quite. But this is why Joe Rogan has doctors come on his show so that you can listen to the opinion of other doctors that are smarter than him in certain areas. The point of the doctors is allowing the propagation of false and societally harmful assertions. Spotify is enabling its hosted media to damage public trust in scientific research and sow doubt in the credibility of data-driven guidance offered by medical professionals. The thing about that is, if your data is so driven and your credibility is so high and your research is so correct, I feel like that should be able to stand on its own. Like, it's scientific data. It's not open to the interpretation of Joe Rogan or this random doctor or these 300 doctors or any other doctor. It's medically and culturally dangerous. Ooh, I'm so scared of the big bad podcast. Ooh. We, the undersigned doctors, nurses, scientists, and educators, the educators.
I mean, we could call ourselves educators by that logic.
Yes. We call on Spotify to establish a policy that allows doctors to moderate Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm paraphrasing. So here are the educators. I took the liberty of going through this list. I highlighted all of the actual doctors and scientists who are practicing researchers, and I made it very easy anything that ended in ist. Okay.
Okay.
Anything that ended in ist, I highlighted.
So keep in mind, guys, go through this list, and if you see discrepancies here or there's something that we missed, feel free to put it in the comment sections. We would love that.
None of these end in ist. Okay, we have one immunologist on the first page. There we go. Oh, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6. So that's a dentist.
Also dentist. No.
An analytical scientist. Okay, cool. So on this page, out of all of these, there's a psychiatrist. So to me, the psychiatrist doesn't count.
So a head doctor?
Right.
Who prescribes you drugs for your head? Not that they don't go through medical training. I'm certainly not going to take that away from somebody who has those qualifications. But as far as the expertise and the specialties and all that other stuff, I mean, we can't. I'm sorry,
nothing to do with viruses.
This has nothing to do with your profession.
Nothing to do with vaccination, etc. We have a dentist. That to me doesn't count.
And what do you got down there? Does that say manager at Foot Locker? No, never mind. I'm reading it wrong. It's okay.
There's a comedian. No, just kidding.
No, that's Joe Rogan.
So on this whole page, and this goes on for pages, by the way. On this whole page, we have 3 ists, and out of those 3, dentist, psychiatrist, 1 analytical scientist who might be analyticalizing something that has nothing to do with this topic.
What is consultant? That's just what I talk to
exactly.
doctors.
We got professors. Like, what do they profess? What do they teach? Who knows? There's a staff specialist. There's all kinds of stuff here that has nothing to do with doctoring. Postdoctoral fellow, so somebody that got a degree and has done nothing with their degree as of yet.
Hang on, wait. Licensed marriage and family therapist? That's a fun one.
Is that really on here?
Go up, scroll up.
Oh, yep, there it is. Licensed.
How is this legitimately on this list?
Well, what if your family member watched the Joe Rogan podcast and then they disagree with you on some medical topic, and then
so they got divorced as a result?
Yeah, they got into an argument and they started fighting or whatever, so they disagree on Joe Rogan's podcast. So this family therapist just had to sign this document. So, but you get the gist. I'm not going to go through all of it.
That's why I made the joke about the Foot Locker manager.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you have to do with me getting a needle in my arm?
Right, and they kind of misconstrue it by saying, we, a community of biologists and virologists. It's like you kind of padded your number out to get to 300 because 300 creates a false perception of authority. Rogan may not be an expert on every topic, but he's a very effective communicator. And comedy is one of those things that gives you that level of being able to put ideas into a very effective way, a very streamlined way, and to make very powerful arguments. He has argued with people on some of these topics and taken multiple sides of multiple issues. It's not like he has people on and always agrees with them and always promotes their ideology. In fact, a lot of the time he will say, I had that guy on last week and I found out that he was way wrong. He is in a constant dialogue with not only the guests on his show, but with his fans as well. And that's the beauty of having a free exchange of ideas. I think we've come to a point where we agree on this. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to hit that like button if you're feeling our threads, if you're feeling my N64 swag. Share this video with all the doctors, with all the veterinarians, with all the Foot Locker managers that you know.
Get them in the comment section so that we can actually get a little feedback, especially on a subject like this, because it is a subject that is very touchy with everyone.
Right.
So any proper information that we can receive back from the people watching this is so appreciated.
And any misinformation will surely be deleted and censored and removed right away.
If we have any of it, you send us the info, we'll look into it. And
feel free to get 300 of your friends to write a letter to YouTube.
Please do.
We'll get us removed.
That might give us 300 more viewers. And I tell you what, if you're responsible for that, we'll give you a shout out in the next video. Sure.
We could really use the negative publicity. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of all our future episodes. Also, make sure you go check out some of our previous shows up in the corner right here. We did Tila Tequila. We did Flat Earth Theory. We did all kinds of crazy stuff that maybe you agree with. We're just asking the questions, and I think what makes our show great is that we look at the conspiracies with the same critical thought that the conspiracy theorists are looking at the mainstream. With that being said, this has been the OC Podcast.
And we're out. Oh, yeah, let's do it again.
I forgot the intro, you forgot the outro.
There we go.
We're
all right,
even.
we're even now.
It's been 6 months. It's been a long time. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. This has been the OC Podcast.
And we're signing out.